Hey guys, how's it going? John and Susie here from the Unbeatable Tech podcast. I'm so excited for you to spend some time with us here today. Susie is going to turn the tables. If you were part of the podcast, our previous episode got into her backstory and her history of going from a stay-at-home mom to an entrepreneur. And in this episode, we are going to just turn the tables so you can see who else is here and my story from from corporate engineering to being an entrepreneur with her side by side. So Susie, I'm excited and nervous to talk to you.
This is going to be very eye-opening for all of us to kind of see that raw side of John come out with the transition, which I know it sounds like this amazing thing. I quit my job and all that, but there were some wonderful months to go through and transition. But before we get into that and the story of how that all happened, can you tell us a little bit about your background? I know most of you, or most all of you.
You know all of me, honey.
All of you. But there might be some things that I can sneak out and still understand. So tell us about your background.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in a little town outside of Jacksonville, Florida. So kind of a country boy. I grew up on a little bit of land with my two older sisters and had a wonderful, loving mom and dad and a fantastic childhood. Wouldn't change a thing. Very blessed with that. Good, go to church on Sunday family, learn music, learn hard work and effort, and got a fantastic upbringing. As far as like the entrepreneurial side of things, my dad was always my steadfast kind of wake up in the morning, go to work, come home, go to work at the same time, come home same time, eat the dinner at the same time. We had that type of structure. And that kind of was my rock, my like foundation of what a man is supposed to be and how he provides for his family. On the other hand, my mom, she I think similar to your story, she stayed home with the babies. She had a career before becoming a mom. And then she also had this passion. Her passion was anything with canines, anything dogs. She would take care of them. She would walk them. She would train them. She did the guide dogs, like where you'd see dogs taking blind people around and people with disabilities and PTSD. She learned how to train dogs to do all these wide array of services, which was so phenomenal. And so having three kids at home, she couldn't really go and do that the way that you would expect to. But she's a problem solver. She's an entrepreneur at heart, and she opened a dog boarding kennel. And so
On your
on
property.
our property, we had a few acres of property, which was fantastic out in the country.
Smart girl.
And so people would come and bring their dogs all hours of the day. There's barking constantly in the backyard. We couldn't really take vacations because you can't really shut down a business when there's 40 different dogs, 40 different clients, all of this you're juggling. It was an amazing kind of show and tell for me on what entrepreneurial life could be, because it was really one of those things where if we wanted to take a week off, there was like a year's worth of preparation to take that little bit of time off because it was a brick and mortar service based. Dogs have to wake up, get to be fed multiple times a day, go out to do their stuff multiple times a day. So it taught me a lot of hard work, but it kind of shied me away from the idea of entrepreneurship because
Mhm.
I saw my dad could just ask his boss for a week off and it was done. But then my mom had to either hire outside help and all these things. It was a mess. Um, but she did it for 35 years, an amazing role model on the stick to itiveness. Like she was able to stick to and commit and did a wonderful job with that. So that's kind of the background of my parental influences when it comes to work and life.
That is so interesting. That was your intake of what an entrepreneur is. And for on my side, my dad started his company and could do what he wants. It was his own thing, and he was flexible because it was a software. And
Mine involved a lot of scooping poop.
right. I would not be so inclined to be an entrepreneur if I was you. And then you saw your dad having that awesome corporate career, and he just recently retired, right?
He did. He did. He actually worked with the same company for over 45 years. I retired before my dad did.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, that just goes to that role model of stability and steadfastness and kind of the constitution of both on my parents' side, my mom and my dad. They committed to something. My mom ran her kennel for 35 years. My dad worked the same, different jobs, but within the same company for 45 years. The idea of entrepreneurship honestly was scary
Yeah.
for me. Seeing uncertainty, seeing the, I don't know where my dollar is coming from, where my bread is coming from. That was always one of those things that I said, So growing up, I knew that I wanted to get a job and learn a discipline that I could have a good, long, and stable career with.
Okay, can you tell us about that? What discipline did you go learn and where did you start with your career?
Sure thing. So, like you, I was lucky enough to get into University of Florida, and in the haymaker days, or I don't know what the right terms are, but it was during the Tebow era. If you are getting older like us and still remember that name, and so we had wonderful time in college. Oh man, I went in, I knew I loved math. I love numbers, I love data, I love analysis, and I love being that kind of cold and calculated logic. I like when things make sense. And so I didn't know exactly the engineering discipline, but I knew I wanted to go into engineering. So after about a year or so of exploring the different disciplines, I decided on systems engineering, industrial and systems. The basic premise of it is you take any process, any business, any task, and if you can separate out the emotion from it, let's take that task and break it down and understand, is it possible to make this task work better? Is it possible to flow chart out and understand where the defects come from? And just take anything from pharmaceutical sales to medical processes to Walt Disney World to building cars at Toyota. Every process is made up of the same building blocks, and industrial systems engineering kind of helps you make those building blocks work better.
Okay, okay. Wow, you explained it so well. I'm like thinking about the time studies we did at Walt Disney World. I'm like, yeah, how could we make that process better? So,
A lot of time studies. So what she's referring to is um, when we first met, it was when we were on internship at Walt Disney World, and we went there for their engineering program, which is phenomenal. I
yeah.
highly recommend it. If entrepreneurship's not for you, it's fine, not gonna hurt our feelings. And Disney's a pretty awesome place to work as well. Anyways, we would go and stand out there in the middle of the summer because it was a summer internship, and we'd have our clipboards, we'd have our sunglasses, we'd have our business professional attire, we'd be sweating, and we'd be there just watching people eat their lunches. I remember I would work underneath Magic Kingdom, and I would be assigned out to go and watch people eat their lunches at the barbecue place outside of like Frontierland or something, and try to figure out if we need more cash registers, if we need more stations to put the ketchup, like little things like that. And then little did I know that the work I did back then, just starting out, would reflect so much on honestly our day to day of becoming entrepreneurs and making money on the internet. It's all about processes and figuring out how to make them work better. It's just kind of crazy how it all comes together.
That is crazy. I love talking about this because we're actually now thinking about getting annual passes to Walt Disney World. Well, I'm trying to convince John. So please leave a comment or
Yeah.
write us an email and say yes, so we can get some annual passes so I can take the girls. They're 6 and 8 now. I think it's perfect age to go. Anyway, so we started at Walt Disney World. And then from there, how did we end up where we are now? What was your journey?
Yeah, for sure. So when we left college, we both got jobs at the same company again. Luckily, I guess we're pretty decent to be able to go and find jobs at the right companies. So we worked around the country for GE Healthcare. We'd work in manufacturing devices or all these kind of fun places. We went around to South Carolina, New Jersey, Wisconsin, all over the place. And the time came when, we were married at this point. We were happy, crazy in love, newly married couples, and we were ready to start our family. And both Susie's family, your family, is down in Orlando. Mine is up in Jacksonville. And so we're like, I think Florida is where we need to be. And that company wouldn't really have worked out. That wasn't the best place to go. So I decided to say goodbye to a company that took great care of us. And I was able to find a job with Toyota in Jacksonville, which was awesome, super fun. If you want a process-driven company, Toyota is fantastic. And I would wake up at 5 a.m. and be butts in seat before 6 a.m. every morning.
Yeah.
And then I'd come home around 4 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd drive almost an hour in the morning and an hour at night
Yeah.
to get home. So they were long days in the beginning, but it enabled us to start our family and have the support of, in-laws and grandparents and siblings and all of that close by. So it was totally worth the transition, although the work was not easy.
No, and you went through a couple hard positions there. Remember your quality role was really hard.
Yeah, yeah, it stretched me. And I think if it weren't for some of the roles I had, I don't think I would be able to do what we do today. And I think in anything, no matter where you're at or what job you're in, if it's not a job you really love, try to keep a positive mindset and think about what can I take away from this? What skills or what patience or whatever it is that you're developing through that hard situation, what does that now make possible? If, for example, didn't have I was a young kid, right? I'm still, I don't know, probably old now. But in the day, I was in my mid 20s and I was promoted from an engineering position where I simply had to, nobody reported to me. I was nobody's boss. I would simply go in like a consultant and try to fix things and make things better and influence people to adopt my ideas. So a lot of the skills I generated there, but then I was promoted to having like, I think it was 45 people,
Yeah.
like through the ranks. I was put up multiple levels in the corporate ladder and I had this team to lead for quality assurance. And it was challenging. The people skills that I had to develop or else I would be out of there, managing people that are double your
Nobody likes
age.
quality insurance.
Exactly. There's 2 things universally people don't like
Yeah.
in work. They don't like young kids telling them what to do, and they don't like people telling them their work stinks, and that was literally the combination of my job. So it was a hard role,
Yeah.
and that was right around the time that, the blogging kinda got started.
Yeah, because I saw you working your butt off, and the people you worked with, most of them were really awesome, but a couple of them were very difficult to work with. And you would come home disgruntled, complaining, but trying to keep like your good and happy and positive attitude. But I would see through it and I'm like, oh man, this is kind of tough. And I'm not there with you anymore. We used to study together, be at the same jobs together, everything was together. And now we're like living these separate lives. And I hated it. Hey, I miss you. And then seeing you be upset and I wasn't there to help. So then I started the little blog. And then how did that make you feel that just the beginning months of me actually having something? What was that?
Oh, it was awesome. I saw a totally different shift. What it turned into was not at all what I had expected in the beginning. Like, I wanted you to find something for your professional energies to flow into, and that was phenomenal, because I saw that exactly that light bulb turn back on, and that passion that I was so attracted to was back, and so that was great. And on my long commutes back and forth to work, I would be picking up all these other ideas as well because I think I kind of discovered this whole online business thing. I was really into stocks. When I would get too upset with my job, I would close my office door and trade some stocks, and, and that inspired you to try it,
Yep.
which that was a little tricky, but
Or unprofitable.
very unprofitable. But seeing you get into it and really start to commit allowed me to have the freedom of like, hey, what would it be like if this could actually provide? And I remember in those early days, even while I was working my 60, 70 hours at my day job, it would also be, I think I launched a course back in like 2015 or
Yeah.
2016, where I found a software program that nobody was talking about. And I love finding software. You'll see it on my unbeatabletech.com blog. And so I launched a course on Udemy, and it actually still makes money to this day. It like started to bring in $100 per month just sitting there passively.
I think we totaled it up the other day and made $6,000 from
Yeah,
this little course you did on Udemy
yeah,
about a new software, and it's just been sitting there, and it literally covers the cable bill now.
yeah. So for me, I found this online business thing as a fun distraction and something to do. I didn't know how to, first of all, I didn't know how to commit to it when all my energy and time was taken up through my career and my family life. So I feel you guys if you're in that position. But I tried different things. I started a YouTube channel where I would teach the options trading because I was into trading derivatives in the markets because I think I'm fancy. I'm not fancy, but the YouTube channel did really well, and it has thousands of subscribers. Even though I was super inconsistent with creating it, so I saw that spark. I just knew that where I was at, I didn't have the wherewithal to create the fire. Like the spark was there, but I didn't really have the time or the energy after the day job, and so that was where seeing you take it on was empowering for me. And in the back of my mind, I was like, how can I help this thing grow? Which was super fun as it began to grow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I remember there were times where I would get a bad comment or a bad email and I would want to give up. And then John would just throw a little spark again on my side of like, okay, let's keep going. So you would just continuously like push me forward until eventually you gave me like ideas of like, let's do this, let's do this. So you were always kind of like the consultant in the back end. And then I would go and do the actual the actions while you were your job working. Um, how did it feel when what we've kind of created, you through your consultation, me through going and writing the words on the website, how did it feel when it was starting to make more money than your corporate job? Be honest, you
Yeah,
tell us.
absolutely. I will be honest. So it was, I guess, a year or two
Yeah.
into Start a Mom blog that it started to really pick up and overcome my monthly salary. Definitely mixed feelings. And for anybody who has a side hustle and they're dealing with an unsupportive spouse, um, I get you. I'm not saying I was unsupportive, but there was a mixture of feelings because I knew on the one hand that having a corporate job created stability. And from a firm foundation, you can build really cool things on. But if I didn't have a firm foundation, like it would be really tricky. So I knew that by working at my job, it was enabling these ventures, these ideas, these like moonshots, I guess you'd call
Yeah.
them, of the online business. So I knew I was providing a purpose and that we were working together at this. But there was definitely that part of me, the what call it the I don't know, the macho ego or whatever the case might be, of saying, I've put in like 50 plus hours this week at my job. The best I can possibly hope is maybe a few bonuses throughout the year, a few attaboys, maybe my image on a monthly PowerPoint that the boss sends out, right? And maybe like 4 or 5% of a raise at the end of the year. And I'm watching this website go from $1,000 per month to $2,000 the next month to then $3,000 or $4,000 the month after that. And I'm sitting there thinking, did I attach my cart to the wrong horse here? So it was a struggle because I knew that my role was to always, be loving and supportive and help you achieve your dreams and all that stuff. And while raising the family, there's a lot of sticks in the fire. But it was hard. It was hard. But what it started to do was tell me, okay, it's time for myself to figure out, can I do this? Do I want to do this? And how am I going to get from where I am to where I needed to be? And I had to start building the exit strategy.
Yeah. So that was 1 month. I think it took us a year, almost 2 years, because we are more on the safe side. We're more on the frugal side. We are both engineers, so we overanalyze things from a bajillion different directions. Where my parents have sometimes said, like, "You guys take forever to make a decision, and you guys look at it from like 9 different angles." And I'm like, "Yeah, we want to make sure we make the right one." Where they would just kind of go ahead and do something crazy, and I'm like, "How do you do that?" Anyway, so it took us a while to start building up the income from the website that we had. And then what happened? What was the actual point of you deciding, okay, it's we're gonna go all in on this or we're not?
Yeah. Goodness gracious. I can picture the day.
Uh-huh.
We were standing in the kitchen
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
a few homes ago at this point, and you were getting some really good success. I think you were consistently out earning me
I think I had a
month by month.
day when I made $10,000 in a day.
You don't need to go into all these details. It's still a little fresh here. And you told me like it's either like the ultimatum.
Yeah,
Like it
it
it,
was
it had to
ultimatum.
happen
Yeah.
where it was like, hey, either I can't keep up with everything
Yeah.
you from the home side. I need you to come in on this with me 100% or something has to give.
Because at that time we had 3 kids.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the one baby, it was 3 kids. And our last one was baby boy, and he was a lot of work. He's amazing, but he was a lot of work.
Yeah. So I think why this was such a tricky decision for me was that I also saw that my corporate career would have done quite well. It would have gone places. Like I was at the point in this part of the story of turning down different promotions because it would have required us to, move to headquarters or do these other things. And I was like, I don't need to rock the boat because I have my sugar mama at the house. Then again, we were working as a team on that, but I was from the idea and the help and some of the tech in the background, not so much the fingers on keyboard side. And so I said, okay. So I think that was probably around October or so we were having those conversations. And by the end of 2018 was this year, was when I put my 2 weeks notice in, which hit everybody at my day job and my family. everybody in our world like a sack of bricks. Like, what the heck are you thinking? And so with 3 babies at the house and,
Man, yeah, looking from the outside, this kind of does look a little scary.
don't make no sense. So I put my 2 weeks notice in and became an entrepreneur side by side with you working in our little upstairs loft while the kids were sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah, now that you explain it like that, if you tell anybody else you have 3 children, small children at home,
Yeah.
you're gonna leave your growing
Yeah.
career that you're getting good promotions for if you take them, and you're gonna quit and go do this mommy blog with your wife.
Yeah. I remember that it was probably a month before that hard conversation when I was at the point of, giving out presentations to our actual company CEO and being on first name basis and being like kind of, earmarked, like, you're like one of those made men type of thing in the company. And I was at that level and I was like, well, this is still nicer. She's still prettier. And so that was the leap off. And so in January, I was in, okay, I just lost, over $10,000 per month of income. Now, where's it going to come from now?
Yeah, so what did you do?
So I saw your journey and I knew that I didn't want to follow exactly the same suit that you did. Now, for context, I started to build up my own YouTube channel at that point because when I came home from work, I was too tired to blog. I overthink the words that I want to type and all that stuff. But YouTube was like, okay, I can do this. And so after work, or I'd take a vacation day and stay home and record some videos. I started to teach tech. That was the stuff I did with
Yeah.
you. And so I got into affiliate marketing. Obviously saw how it worked. And I had a few thousand subscribers before I left my job. So that was definitely a huge benefit. I would highly say that anybody who is getting your start or planning your exit strategy, start something before you quit. Even if you can only do 1 video per week, which you can, trust me, you can. Like, do that before you have to go all in and provide for your family off of it. Because here's what happened. In my first month having left, what I did, I had a very simple website. On the homepage of the website, it was, hey, here's my YouTube channel. And hey, do you want some help to build your online business? Click here and talk to me. I made myself available. I just said yes. And I set up a very simple calendar where anybody, if they found me mostly from YouTube, they would say, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. He has some sort of skills. Maybe he can be helpful to me. And I'd get people to book time with me on my calendar. I'd talk to them for 30 minutes to an hour. I had the time. I didn't have a job. And some of them turned into clients. So I would do anything from help set up blogs. I would help create e-commerce websites. I would do some custom coding things, which were total nightmares. And I would also provide some consultation because just putting yourself out there on YouTube and not really having a game plan, I didn't have a master plan. And don't wait to publish until you have your master plan, because trust me, it'll come out as you're making progress. So in the first month, I think I took on about 6 or so clients and was up to my eyeballs in work pretty quickly, but I was able to match my engineering salary on month 1.
Yeah.
Wasn't entirely sustainable because I was kind of I didn't have a signature offer. I just started going out and helping people and charging them on an hourly basis because I didn't know how to charge for that type of work. So I figured it out, but it got to where, okay, I left my job. There's this big gaping hole in my persona. And I found a way to plug that hole very quickly through service work. And with a small audience, I don't think I had an email list at that point. I just had YouTube. I was able to fill my book. There were some referrals, like, some friends that needed some help, but the vast majority of it were strangers that found me from the internet and wanted to talk to me, and I was able to help them. So we actually ended up creating a course called Services by Number that kind of walks through that process way more in depth and kind of what I would do differently, but also the process I was able to iron out while still doing this one-on-one clients. So there will be links to all this stuff somewhere around this video if you want to check it out.
So now you've gone from corporate to being home with me, doing service work, and we're growing this. And then we decided to move,
Hmm.
and then we decided to move again
Hmm.
and again.
Hmm.
So almost every year since you quit your job, we've moved because we've had different ideas of, okay, now that we're both working from home and doing our own thing, let's go RV. Okay, let's go do that full time. Oh no, let's do this. Let's go move here. So we've been all over the board.
We have.
And even through all the stuff that happened the last couple of years and our moving, our businesses have still grown. So why do you think that's the case?
Oof, a whole lot of luck. I mean, I say it jokingly, but I think in every business,
The
there's
harder you work, the luckier you get.
I like yes, that's true. Yeah, there's that famous saying. I think there is a portion of luck that comes into every business, but the vast majority of it is whenever we got too far ahead of ourselves and tried to do too much or serve too many people, that's when we'd start to flounder and have problems. When we kept things simple, focused on not what we offer, but who we serve
Yeah.
and what do they need, and let me talk to them, let me understand them at a deep level, and let me just be there for them, that's when things tend to grow
Yeah.
and blow up. And I think specifically, going back to the last couple of years, this whole COVID pandemic has been crazy and has impacted so many lives in so many different ways. One thing, you know, it, you always try to look positively, right? And there's not a lot to be positive about this pandemic, but one thing that I think can come out of it is the realization that a lot of people who were scared to adopt anything online, they'd never put a credit card number on a computer screen to
Mm,
buy something.
mm.
Now all these people are okay to do that.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, people who've never even owned a laptop, now they have to do Zoom calls for their work. And so it created in a lot of different industries this huge opportunity of let's help these people and let's show that the world can continue to thrive with enough creativity. So I have been super passionate about helping brick and mortar businesses and service based businesses find ways of scaling
Yeah.
through online things. So yeah, just a few thoughts there. How we've been successful is just keeping our eyes open while maintaining our focus on our audience.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely that serving first and feeling like if I'm helping people, then the money will come, the compensation will come. But my main focus is on seeing who am I serving and how can I help them. So, how has this life been for you now that we are years away from the corporate life? We have moved multiple houses. Our kids are a little older. We're entering these awesome years with them.
Yeah.
They're really fun little people. Um, do you think this is a good thing that you did?
Huge mistake. Huge mistake. No, it's been obviously life changing. We're sitting out here. We're able to look out in our backyard and have a beautiful view, and know that our kids are being taken care of, and it's phenomenal. I will say we kind of glossed over that first year of me leaving my job.
You want to go?
There were some dark moments. Like I had some pretty bad depression in the first year. The first month I had the full head of steam of let me replace what I was doing. But then a few months passed and I didn't listen to my own advice. I started to get a little bit scatterbrained. I started to try to do too much. And I was mixing between trying to build a brand online, having digital products, having services, all these things, while also still having about 60% of my available time supporting our main brand through advertising, through funnels, through the different things that we were learning, that it got overwhelming and I lost myself a little bit. So time heals all wounds, and like that was just something where I was redefining, and I think a lot of people will uh, relate to that. That the redefinition when you're going into any new phase of life, like you shared
Yeah.
on your interview, of going from corporate to mom, and then from mom to momtrepreneur, like all the different phase changes that hit people differently, hit me pretty hard. But now we've gotten over it. We've found a routine. Um, I mean, like, I just have to say, like, we're living probably our healthiest lives. Like, I haven't been sick in a long time.
Yeah.
And before leaving my job, I was sick probably 40% of time because I would work a solid day and then come home and work until midnight or 1 o'clock helping the blog grow or working my own channel. And I just wasn't taking care of myself.
Like 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night then.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Now we sleep in and snuggle the kid. And then we're like, "Oh, man, we gotta get them ready for school." Who's getting up? You get up.
So, anyways, so where we are now is fantastic. We've found a way to use our individual strengths. Like, how can we help each other out? Where do we need to be? While also creating like that own pocket where Susie has her sandbox to play in, I've got my sandbox to play in, but we all have the same mission and service of helping people achieve their freedom through online businesses, which has been a phenomenal ride.
Yeah, so it's been great. I love this journey. I'm so glad that we're able to make this work. And just to inspire you guys, there is so many resources at your fingertips. That, like you said, like just start something. If you're still corporate, if you're still in a career and you're thinking about, hey, can I start this side hustle and maybe it'll turn into something amazing? Just start somewhere. Make your little YouTube channel, start your little podcast, start your little blog, take on one or two clients. But that first couple steps is the right thing in the right direction.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that is enough of my
Love
history
your
and my
story.
backstory. Ups and downs, that's how real life is. If anybody's, flashes a wad of $100 bills in front of you and says, do what I do, click this button and get a Lamborghini, they're probably not being fully honest with you. Get the Lamborghini.
Yeah.
But if you want to kind of find the reality and the truth and the authenticity of this entire journey, we're so happy that you're here on this journey with us. So we talked about a little bit about getting started. So in the next episode of this little intro section of the podcast, I want to break down the system we use and kind
Yeah.
of the high level overview and get you guys ready. So if you're not yet subscribed to the podcast, please do so wherever you're listening to this, on your phone, on your commute, whatever. We thank you for your time. And if you want to learn more about us, feel free to go to unbeatabletech.com, where I have some blueprints and checklists to get you started on my path, or startamonblog.com with Suzi's amazing blogging journey. Thank you all so much. See you in the next one.
Thanks, babe. Thanks for sharing your story.
Of course.